Hello there. Welcome to another session solving tactics on chesstempo.com with the Advocate. This set is 1400 to 1500 mixed. If this set is not in your target range, don't worry, there are other videos. Try to find another video that does fit the objective that you have in mind. Let's take a look at this problem. Yeah. All right, so my first thought was bishop takes here because this is a back ranker. And after, say, bishop takes, rook takes, this feels a little bit persuasive. But black isn't forced to take back, and he can play something like rook here. Though that still loses. But I think the more convincing is just bishop g4, trapping the queen. So bishop g4, trapping the queen. Let's say queen takes, rook takes. There's also rook takes here. Bishop takes, rook takes h3. Let's say king g2. Or the immediate e4, trying to get control of the long diagonal, making certain that there's no tactic happening there. All these look like good reactions. So takes, and then I was thinking e4, can't take because of the back rank, and this will help me shut out this diagonal. All right, let's take a look. This is, let's take a look at mistakes that are made in this position. Bishop takes d5 is by far the most common error, which is, it's a convincing move, no doubt. There's no computer line for this, which is kind of sad. But yeah, something like this is very convincing. Black should, or white should have a lot of play here. No doubt. But it's just not immediately winning. I'm certain there, so this is if takes, right? This is if takes. But of course black has other moves that he can play. Not that they're good moves, but there are other moves to be played. I actually don't think you can play bishop takes f7 because of the mate on g2. Bishop takes f7 here. I think you actually have to play this. And of course you are winning material here, but not as much material as getting the bishop for the queen. Next problem, rook h5. So one thing I see is something like check, takes, check. But I think this might be another queen trap. Just the simple rook g1. Rook g1. The queen cannot go here, the queen cannot go here, the queen cannot go here, and b4 is held by the a3 pawn. So yeah, simple enough. I'm going to try and pick this rook up next. Alright, next problem. Oh, queen here. Be nice if there was some way to distract this rook. There doesn't seem to be any sort of mating idea. Rook takes here is not enough material. Queen takes here, rook takes, and then rook with the pin. After king g7, I don't see anything happening. So what else could I do? Move the queen away, but I don't really see any tempting squares. Rook takes a7 is the most persuasive move that I see in this position. Rook takes a7, queen takes d4, knight takes, and if bishop here, rook d7. But this is just equality. Okay, let's look at, for example, I've only just noticed that queen f4 threatens mate. How can he defend against queen f4? Queen f4, f5 seems to be the only move. Pawn takes f5. Then I'm hitting the rook here. So queen f4, f5. Pawn takes. Then what? Then I'll also have like the knight coming in here. Seems like a very odd problem because I don't see a direct win after f5. So maybe there's a different move. a different move that I'm not seeing. I mean, that should be a win of material eventually, like queen f5, f5, pawn takes. I'm on the rook, so the queen needs to stay against the rook. I'm threatening like f7 check, king h8, queen check, or king h7, and then the queen coming in here and the knight coming here. It's a long play, like it's not an immediate checkmate, but it's definitely reasonable. It's definitely like winning material eventually, but it's not an immediate win. And usually with problems like this, you want the immediate win. But yeah, there's nothing else in this position that I see. So after f4 or f5, queen g3, queen g3, this is rather complicated. So this threatens mate here. That's a bit much. I don't know. I wasn't looking that deeply for something like that against f5. I mean, I definitely saw that I could just bring the queen back, but I wasn't seeing something like knight d4 in that position. And this line definitely needs to give f4 or f5 as the move. I find it ridiculous that the computer would just give back material. Even though I think that this is very winning. This is all still very winning. But anyways, mistakes that are made in this position, rook takes a7. Yeah, rook takes a7 is definitely the move that I looked at. And one of the most persuasive moves that I found in the position. But you'll remember when I was talking about it that after this all you have is equality. The bishop probably trades off because you have pawns on one side of the board, which in general is going to be better than the knight will be better in this position than the bishop, and vice versa, bishop versus knight, pawns on both sides of the board, better for the bishop, pawns on one side of the board, better for the knight. There's also this hole here that a knight could jump into. So just all around, I think that this trade would occur. And this is a draw. This is just definitely, no questions, you know, very, very drawn. So here you can't play rook takes a7 just because it doesn't lead to a material gain, which forced me to find queen f5, queen f4. All right. What I want to do is I want to take this king takes and then play king g5. And he won't be able to stop me from queening. So rook takes e6, king takes e6, king g5. Let's say knight f6, h6. Will be unstoppable. So rook takes, king takes here. If he tries to bring his king around, h6, king around, h7, and h8's queen. h8 is going to queen. So rook takes, king here, any knight move, h6, any king move, h7, and the knight has nowhere to go to cover h8. So I'm confident that this is winning, but I just need to see, is there any other move? There are no pawn moves here that win, that offer counterplay. My pawns are just too fast. So taking, takes, king g5, and any move, I play h6. And there's just no way to stop me from queening on h8. This was not calculation, really. I didn't need to calculate every line because there are so many moves that could be made. g7. Trying to deflect the king from the bishop. But this is all very secure. You can just play the bishop back, I guess, and you're protecting everything. All right, next problem. Okay, so I see queen check, king h1, and then you'll notice that there's no good back rank there. But what if I play bishop f1? Now rook takes, queen takes, rook takes would be mate. And how does he protect g2? The queen comes back here. I'm going to take with the bishop, and that'll be checkmate. So this is the idea. And if this to protect, bishop takes his mate. If the rook goes up to protect, bishop takes his mate. Like if the rook here, bishop takes his mate. And as you saw in the problem, rook takes is also mate. And the important thing here to realize is that when black sacks the rook here, the important thing to realize is just that the queen is deflected from the g2 square, from the protection of the g2 square. So queen f2 is on, and then the mate follows, very simply. Mistakes that are made in this position, queen f1 check. If you play queen f1 check, you're probably mouse slipping. This is probably a mouse slip, because it's just so very clear that you're queen down in this position. So I feel like queen f1 check is just a mouse slip. Bishop e2. Anticipating rook takes. But now you don't have f2. So yeah, these problems people aren't calculating. Just have to calculate the end of the problem, really. It's a mate, so there's no evaluation there. Let's see. Knight here, queen takes, knight check, pick up the bishop on d5. That's a very cute problem. So knight e8, revealed attack on the queen on b6, and threatening mate on g7. Queen takes, now knight check, king g7, and knight takes the bishop on d5. After knight takes d5, there's going to be rook d8, rook d8, I think I'll play knight e7. After rook check, king g2, nothing's happening. And I just want this outpost square here. I just want to be in control of that square. Certain there are other moves. This. Just the idea being, bring the knight here, come back, be a piece up. Wrong moves that are made in this position, e6. People play e6. If queen takes, bishop takes, pawn takes here, check, and I win the queen. So we'll play bishop takes e6, and now what? The best we have is a perpetual? Another mistake that is made is knight takes f7. But knight takes f7, queen takes, maybe check, king here, pawn takes check, king takes here, you're down a piece. And if you don't give the check and you take here blindly, you're still down a piece. And this is very easily winning for black with the queenside majority. This pawn will never promote. Alright, next problem. So knight check here, and if rook takes, knight check here, if rook takes, then rook d8 is mate. Knight check if king f8, I can play queen takes e5. If rook takes e7, rook d8 will be checkmate. Um, Anything else? Knight e7 check. King h8. There's no knight g6 check. So yeah, I think the best we have is a piece win. There's no way I can tempo the queen. There's no check here. There's no queen takes. So yeah, knight check, king takes. Here I'm just gonna take that, and then I'll give the check and go to e5. Mistakes that are made in this position: knight f6 check, but all of the follow-up checks in this position are covered. You can see this is covered, this is covered, this is covered, so the only good thing you have to do in this position is queen takes f6, but now you're a piece down and you still have no counterplay. There's still no follow-up here. b3. b3. Maybe queen e2, because now after knight check, king f8, this is covered, so there's no queen takes e5. Alright, let's try another problem. So here in this position, there is knight check here, there's knight check here. This knight is under attack. Is there some way to deflect the... Ooh, is the queen trapped? No, not quite. Yes, she is. Alright, so I have this b4. The queen's only square is queen b7. But after queen b7, I'm going to have knight takes here. Now, should I play knight takes there, or should I play knight c6 first? I think knight c6 is better, because after knight takes, the king doesn't have to retake. He can just take here. And then if I take on c8, well, that's still equality. So b4, queen here, knight c6, queen here, and then take on e7 with the c6 knight. Any way to move order that? Here, here, takes, takes. No, if I come out, the queen can hit the knight and I only win a pawn, so that's weird. What? Queen a7, knight c6, queen b7. Because this leads to mate. I don't know, this seems fine. Nah. So king here. Okay, it's kind of a long road to mate, but I guess we do get there eventually. Probably gonna play h4. So I guess the computer's right to just take the knight because it will eventually lead to mate, but I'm not going to calculate 11 moves into the future to find the mate. I'm sorry. I just know that I'm a piece up with a very winning position. So knight takes e7. Common mistake. Knight takes e7, thinking that you can sort of move order it. But now the queen has the b6 square. Obviously, if queen takes b4, there's knight check. But the queen now has the b6 square, which was being covered by the knight on d5. If you see. So the best thing you have to do is just like go back and you've sort of opened up your own king. So I don't like that. Let's take a look at another problem. Okay, am I getting smothered mated? If I play bishop takes, rook check, king away, queen takes, this will be smothered mate. I'm going to get knight check, king here, double check. So it goes but I can just take with the rook. I can just play here, here, take with the rook, and then I'm a rook up. If knight check, I'll just take with my rook on c2. Yeah. So bishop takes, rook takes, rook takes. If knight check, rook takes c2. Or queen takes c2. Both are fine. And then I'm a rook up. Is there a mate? For example, rook check, king h7, bishop check. No, I'd prefer to just be the rook up. That was a huge miscalculation by black. But yeah, you can see that if you try to get cute with the tactics, if you try to get really cute, for example, this, trying to get the king on the back rank to go for mates, and here, this is smothered mate, knight check, king here. Ooh, wait, not smothered mate, but it is a perpetual. It's not smothered mate because after this, my queen covers the c2 square. But it is a perpetual. For example, check here, king here, check here, king here, check here, queen takes, queen takes. Let's resolve our back rank issues. And now black has drawing chances. White's 2 rooks for the queen, 3, 5. Maybe white still wins here. But better just have the rook up. Alright, rook takes c8. Common mistake. Rook takes c8. Rook takes c8. Seems to be fine. I guess the point is that we're just going to continue to give checks. Can we not go here? No. All right, next problem. So we're a rook down, but this looks very checkmate E. Just got to figure out the correct sequence. I don't want the king running away to h6. If I take here, this is checkmate. If I check here first, then queen takes, this is still checkmate. If I take here, rook check, I can play bishop d1. Yeah, so take here, rook check, bishop d1, stops the mate. Anything better than being a rook for the queen? So queen takes, rook a1, bishop d1. And just enjoy being a queen for a rook. Wrong moves that are made in this position, bishop d5 check. Yeah, without question. Bishop d5 check, and then like king here. I don't know. It looks like it could be very cute. But yeah, there's no mate there. And you're a rook down. So there, like once I saw that the king could run away to h6, I pretty much dismissed that line, and I sort of revisited queen takes b3 and figured out the coordination of the light squares on d1. This, on the other hand, here, h6 is covered. But this bishop and this rook and this knight, they cover all the light squares so that after the check, it's difficult to get. So rook check. Rook check, king h8, rook takes d7, queen takes d7, queen h8, checkmate. Rook check, king h8, rook check. If knight f8, queen takes f8, checkmates. If king g7, rook g8, checkmates. Okay, all right, so I don't even need to take the knight. Rook check, king h8, rook check, king g7, rook g8, checkmate. And if knight f7, knight f8, queen takes f8, checkmate. Mistakes that are made. I'm certain that people play two. What? Okay, the most common mistake is queen f7 check, but this allows the king to run away to h8, h6. If the king ran to h8, of course you'd have queen g8 mate, but this allows the king the h6 square. Maybe I would have had a more difficult time with that if I just didn't have that problem with the king having a flight square on h6, but it's not really that difficult to see. So queen f7 check is out. I'm really surprised that more people don't play rook takes d7. Because, well, I suppose the queen can go here, and you don't, yeah. Yeah, you don't have this check. If you had this check, you could do this and then mate, but the bishop covers the d8 square. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Yeah, that was stupid on my part. So yeah, people are not playing rook takes d7 with good reason because the bishop covers the d8 square. That was bad. But the most common mistake is actually queen f8 check. Giving up a piece and a rook. Not good. Okay. Steamroller. Check, checkity check, checkity check, 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 mate, matey mate. So there's queen check, rook check, knight check. So just even on preliminary analysis, knight check looks very convincing because it gets another piece closer, so that way when the king gets over here, there are more mating options. So I feel like knight check should be the move. Let's take a look at queen check though. Queen check, king here, rook check, king b3, and I'm out of checks. Rook check, king here again, and I'm out of checks. So knight f4 check, king c4, and I'm out of checks. Every time the king goes to c4, so how to do this? What about queen check here? Or, no, not here. Queen takes, pawn takes. So queen check here, and now after king c4 I'll have rook check here. King b3, No. What about queen d check? Queen d8, knight d7, knight check wins the piece. Queen d5 wins the queen. So the king would have to go to... Okay, let's say c4. This just looks nasty because I'm going to have this check here, king here, knight check here. Just looks horrible for white. So I think c4 is going to be the best try. So queen d8, king c4, rook check. King b3, queen check, queen check, and now if queen b5, there's so many moves. The sheer amount of moves available to white in these positions makes me feel that this is not the solution. So like queen check, king here, queen check, or rook check. Knight check, king b3. I don't see anything. King c4, I just don't see what happens after the knight check. Is there any other move? For example, if rook here, no. Queen b7, queen f, rook f7, or queen c check, rook f, or queen d check, rook f7, and then queen check again. That's clearly not leading anywhere. So, not rook f6. I want this knight check. I want to get that in there. Knight check. But after king c4, I just don't see how to continue. Knight check, king c4. And there's nowhere my knight can go to continue the attack and sort of evade capture. I can bring my knight back here, threatening the check, but then queen c7 check and it picks up the knight. Well, no, I can bring my knight to f7, but then that's not really accomplished anything. So queen d8 check. seems to be how I get the most play. But after queen d8 check, king c4, rook check, king b3, queen b8 check. I'm just not certain what to do. I've spent too long on this problem. I'm actually going to give up because I don't know what to do. Oh my god. Oh, that is so embarrassing. Just pick up the rook. Pick up the loose rook. I was so concentrated on getting the mate that I didn't see there was a loose rook in the position. Wow. Wow. I feel so dumb. Okay, we all have our moments, I guess. That was embarrassing. Okay, rook d2 check. Mistakes that, yeah. There's no explanation here. I just didn't. My brain was so focused on getting the mate that I just didn't even think about getting the rook. Common mistakes that are made are rook d2 check and knight f4 check. Yeah, don't know what to say. In this position, king g1 gets played. We should queen. Now, can I take there, takes, and come here? Not even allowing rook g7 check. So for example, come here, check, no, because after takes, he's going to cover the h2, and also he takes with check, so I'm going to come here without taking, because after rook here, pawn takes here is check, and I think white holds the draw there. So I don't want to be on that. I don't want to do that. So let's play this first. If rook check, I will take. If rook takes here, I'm not gonna take. I'm gonna play h2 check, king f, queen check. If here, I should play the bishop here. There we go. My calculation was obviously flawed. I didn't see rook e3 check. I think I'm getting a little bit lazy with these low-rated problems. Clearly by my inability to calculate the last turn, as well as me just simply missing rook e3 check in this position. Those are inexcusable mistakes, and I should be better than that. Mistakes that are made in this position, yes, rook takes e7 is definitely a tempting option, because after rook takes e7, you can imagine if this didn't come with check, you could come here, and then check, check, and mate should follow. And if mate doesn't follow, you can always just pick up the queen on e8. However, this promotion comes with check, or not promotion, but takes comes with check. So after takes here, pawn takes here, king here, you're not winning. The king can never, this b pawn can never queen. If you try to do it without picking up first the e pawn, you're actually probably losing. And these h pawns can't queen with the bishop on c2. And your king cannot get the bishop away from guarding h2 without coming over here itself, after which the h pawn cannot promote. Your king will never get to the h2 square. So definitely something that I looked at, but just doesn't work. Looks like we have some outside passed pawns here. And this bishop is in a spot of trouble. But it's not clear yet how to use them. Huh. This is a rather complicated problem. Okay, wait, let's set up the trap. Let's set up the trapped piece. Let's play knight c7, taking away these two squares. Then the threat is king f8. White must play b4. But that's only a pawn. I mean, it's a very powerful passed pawn. The a pawn should win the game. Can I change move orders? Can I play king f, bishop here, then knight c7? But then the bishop comes here, or here. So no. I think knight c7 is the best move. Just to create the outside passed pawn. I could also take on b4, which might be even stronger because it allows my king to try and get in. Instead of winning this pawn later, just win it now. So let's say knight c4, b4, a4, bishop a2, knight a6, king c3. and holding. So instead, let's say knight c3, b4, pawn takes, bishop b3, king d. And enter. No. Oh my god, oh, that's so embarrassing. Knight f6 wins it immediately. Knight f6 is an immediate bishop win. I only need to take away one square, just the d5 square. And my knight can stop this pawn. Oh boy. I'm on a tilt. I'm gonna play a couple more. And then call it quits. Okay, the knight's under attack. I don't see any good checks. I see knight takes e6, rook takes here, knight takes here, king here, knight takes e6, pawn takes, I'll take here. With check, knight takes e6, king takes, I'll take here without check. And then will black have any threats? No. Knight takes e6. This pawn is still in the way of the bishop here. If knight b3, the queen can just move away and defend the knight, or defend the rook. So yeah, knight takes e6, rook takes, knight takes check, king c6, and then rook takes f4. Rook takes f4, king c5. That seems very persuasive. So after king c5 in that position, maybe I play b4 with check and get these two pawns going. That seems reasonable. Takes with check, take here, and then I'll play b4 check, getting the pawns going. I'm going to play king b3, come in with the king. This looks good. Mistakes that are made in this position: queen takes f7 check, what? Queen takes f7 check, king takes, rook takes check, king e. Why? Why would you do that? No, 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 no. Maybe people are thinking that there's some sort of a forced fork afterwards, but no. Okay, one more. Huh. Let's take here, bishop takes, and then take here, check, or go here with check, and win this rook. So then I'll be 2 pieces up. I'll be a piece up. So rook takes, bishop takes. She was defending the f6 square. Then knight check, king g7, knight takes here, hitting the bishop. Now my knights will be able to act in concert to stop the a5 pawn. I think I'm going to take this knight and put it on a5 and put my other knight on c4 or c6, covering the e4 pawn. Then I'll just march my h-pawn. That seems like a good plan. So rook takes, bishop takes, knight check, king g7. If king f8, I'm taking with check. King h8 is just too far away from the action. So king g7 is the best way to improve the king. And then the knight comes here, hitting the bishop. Bishop here. Bring my knight here. Pawn here. I think I'm going to take that. Yeah. In that position, I would just take. And then I'm going to come in. All right. Next problem. Very close to a checkmate. So what can we do here? We can play rook f2 check. King here. We can play knight takes, rook takes. That's a draw. There's knight check. Knight check, king here. And there's no mate there. So how can I get around to a mate? What about just the simple rook check here and pick up this knight? So yeah, again, I'm focusing so hard on getting the mate that I'm just not seeing piece wins. Just the simple rook check, king anywhere, and pick up the knight. Okay, let's call it a session there. That was a very odd session. I got 2 wrong. I actually seem to be getting more problems wrong as time has gone on because I'm getting lazy with this set, and that is A, embarrassing, and B, stupid of me to allow it to happen. So I need to be playing better chess. I need to not be getting lazy. And I'm not going to give up on this set just yet because of exactly what has happened to me. So my sort of self-punishment for getting lazy with this is just to continue doing it and not taking a break from it, which will be good for the 1400 to 1500s. However, if you're a 1500 to 1600 player or trying to improve and get to that bracket, you'll have to wait a little bit longer for me to get that set going. Wrong moves that were made in this position. Yeah, rook takes f2 check is exactly what. But when it doesn't work out, you just have to give up on it. When you can't take here with check because the knight will take. That's a very difficult draw. When you calculate that the line is not working, you just have to give up on it and either find a different one, or as I did in that other problem, just give up on the problem entirely. Because if you luck into finding the correct move, then you didn't really learn anything. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this session. I hope that you learned something from it. This wasn't the most fun session for me, but I must say that it definitely added to my chess knowledge and that I will become a better player for it. Even though, yes, these are low-rated problems, there's still plenty for me to learn from them. So I'll see you next time. You'll hear me next time. And until then, good luck with your chess journey. Goodbye.